Great dancers are not great because of their technique, they are great because of their passion. This quote is brought to life by our three guests of today, Usha Srinivasan, Sandhya Kalyansundaram, and Uma Dhanapal. Usha Srinivasan and Sandhya Kalyansundaram are from Sangam Arts. Usha runs a consulting company that specializes in launching and marketing new products. She's an MBA from Stanford and an MS electrical engineer. She's also trained Bharatanatyam dancer and very familiar with Indian classical arts. Sandhya Kalyansundaram, she's a neuroscientist by training, worked at a research lab at Stanford. She's a Bharatanatyam dancer, trained in Tanjore and Kalakshetra styles. She runs a dance and art school for over 8 years, teaching kids and adults in the Silicon Valley. Uma Dhanapal is the founder of Kriya Dance Academy and a renowned Bharatanatyam dancer herself. She's a choreographer, formerly trained by Srimati Subhadra Prabhu Nataraja Kalaman of Bangalore. Uma has been learning Bharatanatyam since the age of 4 and she's performed for numerous events in India and US. We will be talking to these three ladies right after this short break, and we'll know more about Sangam Arts, which is a non-profit organization founded by these two Stanford alumni and Bharatanatyam dancers, Usha Srinivasan and Sandhya Kalyansundaram, right after this short break. Don't go anywhere. You tuned in to Desi 1170 AM on my show, Making a Difference, with me, Sheetal Ohri. Do you think you're the one who's making a difference and want to be here on my show talking about your work? Well, contact me on sheetal@sheetalohri.com. Or if you think you want to advertise with us, bring your business here to Desi 1170 AM. Contact me on 415-505-9592. And we are here with our guests of today who are making a difference in their own way in the Silicon Valley Bay Area and beyond. Yes, I have three amazing dancers, performers and gorgeous women, Usha Srinivasan, Sandhya Kalyansundaram and Uma Dhanapal. Ladies, welcome to Making a Difference and to the studio of Desi 1170 AM.
Hello, Bay Area.
Glad to be here.
Thanks. Okay, so let's start with you, Usha. I would like to know first about you. Who is Usha Srinivasan?
Thank you, Sheetal. So I am, first of all, a mother.
Okay.
And then I
a very big job.
Yes, yes. And then also I have my own strategy consulting practice where I help media companies launch new products. Mm-hmm. That's my day job, if you will. But I'm also a dancer, and I've learned Bharatanatyam for several years. Mm-hmm. And my daughter, who's 10 years old, performs with me. So this is an experience that we do have together. And over the past 4 or 5 years, I've found myself getting deeper and deeper into the world of classical arts in general and dance in particular.
And let's hear about you, Sandhya. So what do you do and who is Sandhya Kalyansundaram?
Thank you, Sheetal. I am a neuroscientist.
Wow. So when you say neuroscientist, let's hear about what you do.
We were in the news recently. I worked at a lab in Stanford. We published what is called Clarity, where we clear the brain tissue like a whole human, well, not a whole human, but more like a mouse brain, and then image through it. And we have also worked with human brain samples, as well autistic, schizophrenic brain samples. So we hope that this technology will enable us to find ways and means to what the connections are, what levels of connections are there, and what changes happen during disease. And once we have this level of information, we would be able to, have medicines that target more effectively.
Okay, that's got my curiosity. On the note where, you said that you do this scientific study on the schizophrenia and autism. How does that happen? I mean, is it like you have, some sort of a brain? Maybe
we have disease models.
Oh, disease models. Okay.
We work on disease models primarily. Because it's mostly research at that level, at the molecular level, trying to identify what molecules may be changing during disease and how this would affect the course of the disease, as well as any potential markers that we could use for early identification of disease or progression to target and stop the disease from proceeding, or eventually, hopefully, find a cure and a better lifestyle for the patients.
Okay, great. I think you're doing a fantastic job. So now coming to our dear Uma Dhanuman. Uma, tell us about you. I mean, I can go on, but maybe I think I would rather hear from you.
Thank you, Sheetal. Thanks for having us at this show. So I'm the founder, dance director of Kriya Dance Academy. So we expertise in semi-classical, Bollywood, hip-hop, and folk style of dances. To begin with, my base is with classical dance, Bharatanatyam. I'm a Bharatanatyam dancer, and I strongly believe all my discipline and versatility in dances come through Bharatanatyam. And I teach kids and adults, and that's what I do.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay. So, ladies, we'll talk more about your work and the event which is coming up from Sangam Arts right after this short break. Guys, don't go anywhere. You tuned into Desi 1170 AM. We'll be right back. Do you think you're the one who's making a difference and want to be here on my show talking about your work? Well, contact me on sheetal@sheetalohri.com. Or if you think you want to advertise with us, bring your business here to Desi 1170 AM. Contact me on 415-505-9592. And we're back talking to our lovely guests and performers, amazing performers, I must say. Let's just start with you, Sandhya and Usha. Tell us, how did Sangam Arts start? You know, it's a non-profit organization, but I think the behind the scenes is all about dance, right?
That's correct. Well, it's about classical arts in general.
Okay, got
so,
it.
Both Sandhya and I come from a background where we had a lot of exposure growing up to classical dance and music, especially the South Indian Carnatic music and Bharatanatyam. And we've tried our best to kind of maintain those connections here in the U.S. And like I said, we both pursued dance over here. But one of the things that I noticed, and I'm sure Sandhya will speak to this too, is the classical art scene here in the Bay Area, it's thriving in the sense that there's lots and lots of dancers here who do Bharatanatyam, Kuchipudi, Kathak, and so on. But the audience for the dance is still largely just the diaspora. Mm-hmm. So when you go to a performance, even by premier artists from India, you see largely a small crowd, and even there it's kind of the same people that go to the same kind of events. Mm-hmm. And that there's no problem with that, except that when you talk about the next generation, when you talk about like my daughter who's 10 years old and is really an excellent dancer, and I'm hoping that she will continue to pursue dance, what happens is they lose interest because they find that they're performing to an audience that does not quite match with the place they live in. Mm-hmm. And when people come in to watch these performances, if they are not from the Indian culture and they don't have a background in the music and dance, they don't understand the language or the mythological stories that they are based on, they tend to kind of after a while lose interest. And so what we've seen is our kids who are excellent dancers abandon the form after they get to college because they no longer have this built-in community that they can go and perform to. And even if they slowly start feeling like, why are my friends who are, regular,
hip-hop and other fusion dancing,
they're not interested, or, they find it hard. So we were thinking about what is it about classical arts that causes this. And classical arts is meant to be appreciated at a much deeper level. So,
right.
But the people that come in that don't understand the language merely enjoy the kind of aesthetics of it. Okay. The very superficial, they love the costumes, the razzle-dazzle, but they don't understand anything beyond that. And so they're not going to come back for it time and again. Right. So we were thinking about this, and Sandhya and I feel strongly about classical arts. There's some part of classical arts that you have to absolutely maintain and stay true to. But the parts that have to evolve, that you have to innovate, are the stories you tell, and the music and other things that go with it. And that's especially true here in the U.S., where we have so many different cultures. And for us to start inviting them all to enjoy our arts, we need to start speaking in a language that they do. Doesn't mean that we suddenly change the classical form. We just tell different stories. So that's the thing. And I feel equally important to get other people interested in our classical arts, we have to show interest in theirs.
Right. And Sandhya, what is your take on it?
Yeah, I agree with Usha on most of this. We both feel that, as a teacher of Bharatanatyam dance, I also feel like my students want to come into class, they want to learn a few things, and then they go out in the world, they perform. They realize after a while that they perform to their friends' moms, their parents. It's a very select crowd. Just like Usha said, after a while, well, what do we do with this, Auntie? That's the question I keep hearing. And nobody knows about Krishna. What can I say about Krishna? So that's a problem
and
that they continually face.
If you really see it, Krishna is known all over the world.
It is true.
It's true. Especially in London, in UK, here in New York, they have those temples where you have all those.
It's true. But like Usha pointed out, that the audience has primarily been the diaspora, and we hope that we can be a little more expansive and bring in other audiences as well. And the key point that I think we want to focus on is to offer classical dance as an aesthetic experience. Just like one would listen to Beethoven, there's no necessarily a religious boundary attached to aesthetic experience. That's the boundary that we would like to transcend. It doesn't mean to say, I don't mean to say that we would completely take away all religious components of it, but just to offer to the audience a more informative and in-depth experience
of the classical dance.
Of the classical dance forms, not just Bharatanatyam, even though we both, are practitioners of Bharatanatyam.
This is about all
dance.
8 classical dance.
We
dance
want to
forms.
open up all 8 classical dances and also integrate with other mainstream dance forms like ballet or with other ethnic dance forms.
So when you started the Sangam Arts, how long was it?
It's about 3 months ago, and to tell you how it came about. Initially, what we wanted to do is to hold an annual festival at Stanford. Both of us are Stanford alums, and we wanted to have an annual classical Indian dance festival that featured 8 different styles.
Right.
And we went about trying to work within those, work on that, and then we found out that we would have a lot more flexibility and in kind of leeway in organizing this if we actually had our own nonprofit and we were able to apply for our own grants and so on, because obviously things are much more regulated and stringent when you operate within the university. So to some extent, Sangam Arts really came about because we wanted to enable it. But now that we have this organization, we want to use it to do things like lecture demonstrations and workshops. And most importantly, the one thing that Sangam is about is it's about confluence. Sangam really means confluence in Sanskrit. We want to reach out to our fellow Bay Area residents from different cultures, whether it's the Mexican-American culture, Chinese-American culture. I feel like the Indian-Americans, we tend to have a lot of pride in our own classical forms, but we need to recognize that other cultures feel the same way about theirs.
Right.
And until we start opening up and finding out more about theirs, they're not going to really show the same interest in ours.
Absolutely, I believe in that. So, Uma, what are your thoughts on this?
Sheetal, to be very frank, when Usha came up with Sangam Arts, I was, what is it? I thought it was just an event. It was just a one-day performance. But when we started discussing, I really felt that need and necessity for this kind of an organization to come up. It was there, the thought will be there in every dancer or a teacher, but then they came with this unique idea, and getting various dance forms together and having classes or workshops in future is a great idea. But what I feel is also the same. I'm a classically trained dancer, and I see that we carry such a rich culture, but when you present the typical dance to the audience, they feel it was beautiful, I loved your costume, I loved the makeup, but they don't connect to the dance. That's what I feel sad. But that's when I started thinking to blend in a little more of fusion. People get a little excited when you bring in some fusion, but at the same time, to keep the art form is very important. So I saw this unique idea also kind of a fusion for the current generation, as our kids are going to be learning, and they have to be carrying this to the future. So it's kind of a journey that we have just started, and I'm sure a lot of dancers, choreographers, teachers, students are going to join us and make Sangam Arts much bigger.
Fantastic. Well, listeners, we'll talk more to these women and get to know more about Sangam Arts and their upcoming event right after this short break. Don't go anywhere. You tuned into Desi 1170 AM. Do you think you're the one who's making a difference and want to be here on my show talking about your work? Well, contact me on sheetal@sheetalohri.com. Or if you think you want to advertise with us, bring your business here to Desi 1170 AM. Contact me on 415-505-9592. And we're back talking to these ladies here about Sangam Arts. So, before we went off on a break, now my question, which still I believe is about, do you really think that people out there are not interested in, and I'm talking about non-Indians, not South Asians, who don't approve of the kind of dance there because they don't understand. They don't understand the culture. But on that note, I remember Uma about a month or so back. She performed at the Oakland Cultural Center, and I believe she was the only one who was applauded. I mean, not due respect to all the other artists who performed, but the way she was applauded and the way, because she did a very classical piece. And I think that was just fantastic. People loved her makeup. They loved the way she was dressed up, and they loved the poses and whatever performance she gave with her expressions, with those. So I really, and that's something which I believe in. That's why I wanted you all here, because I believe this has to be showcased.
Yes.
And I understand that fusion really creates the whole atmosphere where everybody blends in. But at the same time, I think the culture which we have, it is so rich.
Correct.
That, if you maybe in English, if not in another language, somebody maybe gives out a script, a narrated script of, this is what the dance performance is going to be, and this is what the storyline is. People sitting in the audience will understand. And
that's an excellent question.
I mean, come on, Uma, I want your take on this, because you performed there at the Oakland Cultural Center.
Right. Yes, Sheetal. It was a mixed audience and from different culture, and not many Indians were seen there. And I love the fact that they accepted this particular form. I would like to correct that people do accept new culture, especially the Indian culture, even though they do not understand. They try to make an attempt to understand. There was this one gentleman who came up to me. Apparently he has visited India a couple of times, and he particularly said, I liked all your expressions, the 9 expressions. He was trying to reach the word. I said the Navaras, and he was like, yes, the Navaras, they were amazing. I was like, I was impressed, not because he came and complimented, but I was impressed that he did learn. So this is where we are trying to get in. When you educate people a little more, they appreciate things and they understand. That's what it is. It's not that we don't understand ballet, so it's not that we are not going to appreciate. They have their own uniqueness. So when you start learning about that particular dance form, you will know better, and you might want to go for more concerts where ballet dancers are presented. So that's what we are trying to get the Indian dance form also. We have amazing forms, so right from Bharatnatyam, Kuchipudi, Odissi, and we have Kathak. Beautiful dance forms in India. So we want to expose all these, and not to forget.
It's fantastic. I think it's fantastic what you're doing. So let's hear about the event which is coming up on August 17th. So it's called Yudh, 3 Perspectives, 1 Truth. Talk about that. What does that mean really, and what are you going to be depicting at the event?
The event is actually our launch event. So Uma and Kriya Dance will be the opening act, and I'm sure they'll get the crowd really excited and geared up for Savita Sastry. The reason we chose this artist, Savita Sastry, is she her philosophy about dance aligns very closely with Sangam Arts. She's a classically trained Bharatanatyam dancer who, at the peak of her traditional dance career, decided that she's living here in the US, she was teaching at Harker. She kind of felt the same way that Sandhya just articulated. Like the audience, either they're people that are very familiar with the dance form, know all the stories, and so they just really focus on the technique, or they're people that don't know the stories, don't understand the gestural language, and they only look at the beauty of the costume. Right. Neither of those is an appropriate level or the ideal level of appreciating art. Right. Classical arts is meant to be appreciated so deeply that the person should transform and transport you to.
It's like you're watching opera.
Exactly. Yeah. And so she, what she did was she kind of went away from doing the traditional format, and she creates these 1-hour productions where you don't really need any language, because she uses dance to tell these powerful stories that are based on universal themes. Right. So like Yudh is about war told from 3 different perspectives. And she uses, to kind of appeal to the broader audience that doesn't know Carnatic music, she creates this elaborate musical compositions that are based on Carnatic ragas, but you will hear more international influences, like belly dance or
well, I'll be there to see it.
Yes, you must.
Yeah. So, and Uma, tell us, so you're doing the opening act, so what is the Kriya Dance Academy going to be doing there?
Just, what we regularly do, the fusions or semi-classical. This time I'm trying to present the pure classical form. I don't want to compete with a dance exponent like Savita Shastri herself. So we are trying to take a very simple piece, one on Lord Ganesha. It's called as Ananda Nartana Ganapatim. And we are doing one on Lord Shiva. You need not say anything about him. He is everything in dance, the universal. So we are doing the Bhoshambo, which is one of the famous piece of Lord Shiva.
Okay. And what is your role in all this, Sandhya?
My role?
Pretty much organizing. And
so you're behind the scenes who's going to make sure that everything goes smooth. Would you be performing?
Not this time.
No, not this time.
Yeah.
So I think you 2 ladies will be just making sure everything is.
Well, we will actually be presenting. We take a brief break between the opening act and the main act to kind of introduce people to what Sangam Arts is about. Okay. It's kind of our coming out party. Got
it. Okay. Okay, well, great. Well, so listeners, we'll be back right after this short break. Don't go anywhere. You tuned into Making a Difference. Do you think you're the one who's making a difference and want to be here on my show talking about your work? Well, contact me on sheetal@sheetalohri.com. Or if you think you want to advertise with us, bring your business here to Desi 1170 AM. Contact me on 415-505-9592. And we're back talking to Usha, Sandhya and Uma. So ladies, now before we go, let's talk about Yudh, the Sangam Arts presentation on 17th. I understand it's going to be a classical piece, but is it going to be all classical, or because you're trying to get a different variety of audience, so are you planning to do it in a very contemporary way?
It is a contemporary dance, because the story is different. It's non-religious. It targets everyone, because this is all about our lives. We've all been through one war or the other.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah, especially in this day and age.
And I go through a war every day, so that's fine.
Yeah, that's me and my husband.
Just to add 5 cents there, if it is a regular day-to-day story, it's no mother-in-law, father-in-law story.
It's not possible thing, right?
Good. Yeah. So we have no mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, father-in-law. It's something about a war, maybe, which goes on in our minds, our hearts, our lives every day, and I can relate to those things. So I'm very interested, and I'm sure listeners out there are getting interested to know what exactly is Sangam Arts going to be presenting. Yeah.
So it's very unusual, and she's been, by the way, touring in India right now, and believe me, the reviews that she's getting and the crowds that she's attracting are unprecedented. Typically for a very classical, traditional Bharatanatyam performance, especially in places like Chennai, where they have hundreds and hundreds of high caliber dancers, you'll be lucky if you had your family and 3 friends, right? Because that's how jaded they are. They've seen so much of it. But she's been playing to packed audiences, and the people, like the reviews are like she's moved the audience to tears. And, here's somebody who's redefining Bharatanatyam for the modern age. So I think people will truly get if we can have people leave that auditorium that day thinking, I thought Bharatanatyam was all about just telling religious stories in a very traditional format. Wow, I didn't realize that Bharatanatyam is just really a language which has its own vocabulary and grammar, and you can use it to tell any story.
Fantastic.
But for that, young Bharatanatyam dancers don't start it off there, because the traditional is what gets you over there.
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
Yeah,
and Sandhya can attest to that.
If your teacher is trying to teach you
Yes.
Jatiswaram or
I
Tillanam,
know.
saying like,
No, I don't
want to
do
do that.
Yeah, you have to know your
Well, you have to
Shakespeare's,
know
right?
You have to know your vocabulary first
Exactly.
in order to be able to create.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much for your time, ladies. And I'm sure listeners are looking forward to it. So, Usha, would you like to give out the ticket information?
Yes. You can get tickets from sangamarts.brownpapertickets.com. And also,
contacts.
And contacts, you can just send us, if you need any information, send us info@sangamarts.org, or you can send Sandhya or I an email, usha@sangamarts.org or sandhya@sangamarts.org.
Sure. And thank you once again for your time. And I look forward to seeing your 3 perspectives, One Truth.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank
Thank you
you,
so
Sheetal.
much.
And listeners, I will be back next week with yet another interesting guest who's making a difference. Till then, have a great week. Do you think you're the one who's making a difference and want to be here on my show talking about your work? Well, contact me on sheetal@sheetalohri.com. Or if you think you want to advertise with us, bring your business here to Desi 1170M. Contact me on 415-505-9592.